If this story touched your heart, don't leave silently. Subscribe now, because the next story may change your life. The air was calm. Too calm. Caroline stood at the edge of the construction site, her feet covered in dust, her hand shaking slightly as she balanced a heavy block on her head. Sweat rolled down her face even though the day had barely started. Around her, men shouted instructions. Metal clanged. Cement dust floated in the air. Then a black SUV stopped. The engine went quiet. Every worker paused. A man stepped out. Tall. Clean. Calm. His clothes did not belong to this place. He looked like someone who owned cities, not someone who visited dusty sites. His eyes searched the workers until they landed on her. "Caroline," he called softly. Her heart skipped. She froze. The block felt heavier than before. Slowly she turned. It was him. The man whose wallet she had returned. The man she never thought she would see again. "Sir," she whispered, her voice low, unsure. Vincent walked closer. He looked at her hands, rough, cracked, covered in cement. He looked at her tired eyes. Then he looked up at the block on her head. "Drop it," he said calmly. The site went silent. Caroline tightened her grip. "Sir, please, if I drop it, they will deduct my pay," she said, her voice trembling but respectful. Vincent frowned slightly. "I said drop it." Her chest rose and fell. Slowly, she bent and placed the block on the ground. Dust rose around her feet. Vincent reached into his pocket and brought out an envelope. Thick. Heavy. "This is for you," he said, holding it out. "Take it. Come with me. You don't belong here." The worker stared. The foreman stepped forward. "Sir, she's our worker." Vincent raised one hand. Silence. Caroline looked at the envelope, but did not touch it. Her hand shook. "Sir, thank you," she said softly. "But I can't." Vincent blinked. "You can't?" She shook her head. "I didn't return your wallet for money." The construction site went quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. Caroline slowly removed the block from her head and placed it on the ground. Her hands were shaking, not from the weight, but from fear she did not want anyone to see. Vincent watched her closely. "Come," he said gently. "Let us talk." Before she could answer, a sharp voice cut through the silence. "Hey! What is going on here?" All eyes turned. A man walked forward from the far end of the site. His helmet was new. His boots were clean. His eyes were cold. It was Mr. Cola, the site supervisor. He smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Sir," Cola said, bowing slightly to Vincent. "Welcome. We were not expecting you today." Vincent nodded once. "I came to see my property." Cola's eyes flicked to Caroline. Then his jaw tightened. "And why?" Cola asked slowly. "Is this girl not working?" Caroline lowered her head. "I was told to stop," she whispered. Cola laughed lightly. "Told by who?" Vincent stepped forward. "By me." The smile on Cola's face froze. For a moment, anger flashed in his eyes. Then he forced another smile. "Sir, with all respect," he said, "this girl is trouble. She causes delay. She asks too many questions. She distracts the workers." Caroline's heart sank. That was not true. She opened her mouth to speak, but Cola raised his hand. "She even refused help yesterday," he continued quickly. "People like her don't know their place." The words cut deep. Vincent's eyes darkened. "Her place?" he repeated softly. Cola nodded. "Yes, sir. Some people are meant to stay where they are." A deep silence followed. Then Vincent spoke, calm but heavy. "You see," he said. The real problem on this site is not Caroline. Cola swallowed. It is people who enjoy stepping on the weak. Murmurs spread among the workers. Cola laughed nervously. Sir, I don't understand. Vincent raised his hand. I do. He turned to Caroline. How long has he treated you like this? He asked. Caroline hesitated. Fear battled with. I only did what was right. A murmur passed through the sight. Vincent's eyes darkened with shock. This money can change your life. She swallowed hard. Sir, I still can't take it. I need to work. My siblings depend on me. Pain crossed her face, but her voice stayed firm. For the first time in years, Vincent felt something crack inside him. No woman has ever refused my help, he said quietly. Caroline lifted her eyes. Then maybe no one ever helped for the right reason. The wind blew. Dust moved across the ground. Vincent stared at her, this poor, tired woman with nothing, yet everything. He slowly lowered the envelope. And in that moment he knew. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The story continues. That night, Caroline did not sleep. The room was dark and small, lit only by a weak bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were cracked. The floor was cold. Her two younger siblings lay beside each other on a thin mattress, breathing softly, lost in sleep. Caroline sat on the floor with her back against the wall. Her hands were still shaking. She could still see his face. The way he looked at her. The way the workers stared when she said no. She whispered to herself, Did I do the right thing? Her eyes moved to Daniel's torn school bag hanging on a nail. Then to Blessing's slippers, already broken again. She closed her eyes. Memories came like heavy rain. She remembered the day her parents never came home. The loud knock on the door. The neighbor's crying voice. The words that changed her life forever. Your parents, there was an accident. She had been only 12. That same night, she became a mother. She stood up quietly and walked to the small window. Outside, the city lights blinked like distant stars. Beautiful from far away. Painful up close. In the morning, she woke before dawn. She tied her scarf. Wore her torn boots. Lifted her empty bucket. At the construction site, the sun was already angry. Her body ached as she lifted block after block. The men laughed. Some mocked. Caroline, you work like a man, one said. She did not answer. She mixed cement. She pushed the wheelbarrow. Her back burned, but her mouth stayed closed. During break time, she sat alone under a tree. She brought out dry bread from a nylon bag and chewed slowly. A worker looked at her and shook his head. Why didn't you collect that money yesterday? That man is rich. She smiled weakly. Money that comes without peace does not stay. The man laughed and walked away. But when she was alone, her smile faded. Her hand shook as she whispered, God, how long? Later that evening, as the sun went down, Caroline stood on the unfinished building and looked at the sky. The clouds were red and gold. She placed a hand on her chest. One day, she whispered, things will change. She did not know how. She did not know when. But somewhere far away, a man who had everything could not stop thinking about a woman who had nothing. And fate was quietly pulling their paths closer. The story continues. The next morning, Vincent stood by the wide glass window of his house. The city of Lagos stretched before him, loud and restless. Cars moved like ants below. People rushed, chasing money, chasing life. But his mind was not there. It was with a woman in dusty clothes who had looked at his money and said no. He adjusted his wristwatch, then stopped. What kind of woman refuses help like that? He asked softly. He picked up his phone, scrolled, then locked it again. No name. No number. Nothing. Yet she would not leave his thoughts. At his office, the air was cool and quiet. Assistants stood respectfully. Papers waited on his desk. Deals worth millions were ready for his signature. But Vincent did not sit. "Cancel my meetings," he said calmly. The room went silent. "Sir?" one assistant asked, confused. "I said cancel them," he repeated. "I need to go somewhere." Minutes later, his black SUV rolled through the busy streets. This time, he did not wear a suit. Just a simple shirt. No driver. Just him. The car slowed near the construction site. Dust filled the air. The sound of iron hitting stone echoed. Men shouted instructions. Then he saw her. Caroline. She was lifting blocks, sweat running down her face, her scarf tied tight. Her shoulders shook, but she did not stop. Vincent's chest tightened. "That money," he whispered. "It was nothing to me." He parked and stepped out. Workers stared. Some stopped working. They recognized him now. Whispers moved fast. "That's him, the rich man from yesterday." Caroline did not notice, until a shadow fell in front of her. She looked up. Their eyes met. Her heart skipped. "You?" she said quietly. "Yes," Vincent replied. His voice was calm, but his eyes were full. "I came back." The workers gathered closer, pretending to work. Vincent looked at the block on her head, then at her hands, rough and tired. "Why are you here?" he asked gently. "Why this kind of work?" Caroline swallowed. "Because life did not give me choices," she said. "Only responsibilities." Silence fell. Vincent took a deep breath. "I offered help yesterday. You refused." "Why?" She looked away. "Because I don't want pity. I want dignity." Those words hit him harder than any insult ever had. He nodded slowly. "I am not offering pity," he said. "I am offering respect." She turned back to him, confused. "Drop the block," Vincent said softly. "Please." Her hands tightened. The weight felt heavier now. "I can't," she replied. "If I stop, I don't get paid." Vincent stepped closer. His voice dropped. "What if I tell you this site belongs to me?" Gasps filled the air. Caroline froze. Her knees weakened, but she stood firm. Vincent looked at her with something new in his eyes. Not pride. Not power. Admiration. "Today," he said, "your life is standing at a door." Caroline's heart raced. She did not know if that door would bring light or more pain. But destiny had already knocked. The story continues. Truth inside her chest. "Since I started," she said softly, "he reduces my pay. Shouts at me. Sometimes he threatens to send me away." Cola's face changed. "That's a lie," he shouted. "She is trying to poison your mind." Vincent turned back to him, his voice firm now. "Enough." The word fell like thunder. Cola stepped back. "You forget," Vincent continued, "that power does not last forever." He looked at the workers. "Anyone else here treated unfairly by him?" For a second, no one spoke. Then one man stepped forward. "So many times," he said quietly. Another followed. "And me," a woman added. Cola's hands began to shake. Vincent nodded slowly. "Evil hides well," he said, "but truth always finds light." Caroline felt something new in her chest. Hope. But she did not know that when enemies are exposed, they do not disappear quietly. Cola's eyes burned with hatred as he stared at Caroline. And in that look, she knew. This was only the beginning. To be continued. The village square was louder than usual that afternoon. Women sold tomatoes. Children chased each other barefoot. Men argued under the big mango tree. Life was moving, until a sharp voice caught through the air. "Stop her!" Everyone turned. Caroline froze. A crowd began to form as Mr. Obeisai, the wealthy contractor who controlled the construction site, stormed forward. His fine clothes shone in the sun, but his face was dark with anger. "That is her!" he shouted, pointing at Caroline like she was a curse. "She is the one!" Caroline's heart dropped. "Sir, what did I do?" she asked, her voice low, respectful, afraid. Mr. Obeisai lifted a small brown purse high in the air. "My money disappeared this morning," he said loudly. "And ever since that rich man spoke to her, she has been walking like she owns the ground." Murmurs spread like fire. "So it's true. She thinks she is better now. These poor people change when they smell money." Caroline shook her head slowly, tears gathering in her eyes. "I did not steal anything," she said. "I have never taken what is not mine. Even hunger has never pushed me to that." Mr. Obeisai laughed, a hard, ugly laugh. "Hunger?" he mocked. "Then why is my money in your bag?" Before she could speak, a guard grabbed her old sack and turned it upside down. The purse fell to the ground. Silence. Caroline stared at it like it was a snake. "That is not mine," she cried. "I swear by the soil that raised me. I don't know how it got there." No one listened. Some people shook their heads. Some laughed. Some looked at her with pity. A woman spat on the ground. "Shameless girl!" Caroline's knees gave way. She fell to the earth, dust covering her dress. "Please," she begged, her voice breaking. "Search my heart if you want. God sees me. I am poor, yes, but I am not a thief." Mr. Obeisai stepped closer and lowered his voice. "You refused Fremont," I whispered cruelly. "So now you will pay with shame." Tears rolled freely down Caroline's face. Then, a deep engine sound filled the air. Slow, powerful. A black car stopped at the edge of the crowd. People stepped back without knowing why. The door opened. A tall man stepped out. Silence fell like night. Vincent. His eyes moved from the crowd to the purse on the ground, to Caroline, kneeling in dust and tears. His face changed. "What," he asked calmly, "is happening to her?" Caroline lifted her head. Their eyes met. And for the first time that day, she felt hope breathe again. To be continued. The voice came again, louder this time. "Sir, please wait." Everyone turned. A young boy stepped forward from the back of the crowd. His clothes were dusty. His eyes were wide with fear. He could not be more than 15. His hands were shaking. Vincent looked at him calmly. "Speak," he said. The boy swallowed hard. He pointed at Mr. Obeisai. "I saw it," he said. "I saw how the purse entered her bag." A loud gasp rose from the crowd. Mr. Obeisai's face changed. "You lie," he shouted. "You foolish boy, keep quiet." The boy flinched but did not step back. "I was cleaning the office," he continued, his voice breaking. "This morning, Mr. Obeisai called me. He told me to put the purse inside the woman's sack while she was working." The square went silent. Caroline's knees almost gave way again. "So it's true," someone whispered. Mr. Obeisai moved forward angrily. "I will deal with you later." Vincent raised his hand. "Enough." His voice was calm, but it carried weight. Vincent turned to Caroline. She was crying quietly now, not from shame, but from release. Years of pain poured out through silent tears. "I didn't understand why this kept happening to me," she whispered. "I only tried to live right. I only tried to survive." Vincent nodded slowly. "Sometimes," he said gently, "life tests the heart before it lifts the head." He turned to the boy. "Thank you for choosing truth over fear," Vincent said. Then he faced the crowd. "This woman stood firm when hunger knocked," he said. "She stood firm when shame tried to break her. Today, her truth has spoken." Caroline covered her mouth. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen. Not as a poor worker, not as a beggar, but as a woman with dignity. Vincent stepped closer and lowered his voice so only she could hear. "Your pain is not invisible," he said, "and your journey is about to change." Caroline looked up at him, eyes full of hope and disbelief. The crowd stood frozen. But fate had already turned its page, and justice was preparing to speak. To be continued. The village square no longer felt the same. The noise was gone. The laughter was gone. Only truth remained, standing in the open like the midday sun. Vincent turned slowly toward Mr. Obasai. "Look at her," he said quietly. "Look at what you tried to destroy." Mr. Obasai could not meet his eyes. Vincent raised his voice, calm but firm. "You accused an innocent woman. You planted money in her bag. You used power to crush dignity." Mr. Obasai tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. From the edge of the crowd, the village head stepped forward. His walking stick tapped the ground 3 times. "This matter is clear," the elder said. "Truth has spoken." 2 security men moved toward Mr. Obasai. "No, wait!" Mr. Obasai cried. "It was just to teach her a lesson." The crowd erupted. "A lesson? For honesty? For refusing corruption?" Caroline stood quietly, her hands folded, her eyes wet but steady. The elder pointed his stick at Mr. Obasai. "You will answer for this," he said. "You will apologize publicly. You will pay for the harm you caused." Mr. Obasai fell to his knees. "I'm sorry," he muttered, not looking at Caroline. Vincent stepped forward. "No," he said. "Look at her." Slowly, Mr. Obasai lifted his head. "I'm sorry," he said again, louder this time. "I wronged you." Caroline's lips trembled. She took a deep breath. "I forgive you," she said softly. "But I hope you learn." The crowd gasped. Even Vincent was surprised. The elder nodded. "A clean heart speaks like this." Vincent turned to the people. "Let this be known," he said. "Honesty is not weakness. Poverty is not shame." He then looked at Caroline. Her head was no longer bowed. Justice had spoken. But destiny had not finished. Something greater was waiting for her. To be continued. The crowd slowly began to thin, but Vincent did not move. Caroline stood before him, unsure of what to do next. Her heart was still beating fast, like it had been running all day. Vincent looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Come," he said gently. "Walk with me." They stepped away from the noise, toward the quiet road beside the square. The sun was lowering now, painting the sky with soft gold. Vincent spoke softly. "When I lost my wallet, I also lost faith," he said. "I thought honesty had died, but you brought it back." Caroline shook her head. "I only did what my parents taught me," she replied. "Even when they were gone, their voice stayed with me." Vincent stopped walking. He turned to her. "I can give you money," he said, "but money alone fades." He reached into his jacket and brought out a small folder. Inside were papers. "This," he said, "is an offer for training. A real job. Education. A future where your hands will no longer bleed to survive." Caroline's breath caught. "I don't know if I can," she began. "You already can," Vincent said. "You've been strong without help. Imagine what you can become with support." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they were warm. "And your siblings," Vincent continued. "They will go to school. They will sleep without fear." Caroline covered her mouth. She nodded slowly. Thank you, she whispered. Not just for this, but for seeing me. Vincent smiled. This is not charity, he said. It is respect. As they walked back toward the square, the people watched her differently now. Not as a poor laborer, but as a woman whose destiny had shifted. Yet deep inside, something else was growing. Something neither of them had named yet. And destiny was smiling. To be continued. The rains came early that year. They washed the dust from the village roads and softened the earth, as if the land itself was beginning again. Months had passed. Caroline no longer woke before sunrise to carry heavy loads. Now she woke with purpose. Books rested where pain once lived. Her hands, once cracked and swollen, now held pens, hope, and quiet confidence. One evening, she returned to the village. Not in shame, not in silence, but in strength. Children ran toward her. Women paused their work. Men looked up, curious. She stopped near the old market tree, the same place where her truth had been doubted. Caroline spoke calmly. I was once poor, she said. I was once accused. I was once alone. The crowd listened. But I never sold my honesty, she continued. Even when it hurt. Even when no one defended me. Vincent stood at the edge of the crowd, watching. He did not step forward. This was her moment. My life changed, Caroline said. Not because of money, but because I chose integrity when it was hardest. A quiet wind passed through the leaves. An elder nodded slowly. Another whispered, Truth has a long memory. Later that night, Caroline sat outside her new home, looking at the stars. Vincent joined her. You didn't have to come back, he said. She smiled. I did. So they would know, destiny is not given. It is chosen. Vincent looked at her with respect, not power. What will you do next? He asked. Caroline looked toward the horizon. I will help others rise, she said, so no honest soul feels invisible again. The fire crackled softly. In that moment, the village learned a lesson deeper than wealth. That dignity is louder than accusation. That honesty can outlive humiliation. That destiny listens when courage speaks. And so the story ends. But the lesson walks on. As the sun rose, Caroline walked away, not in anger, but in strength. Every step she took carried pain from the past and hope for tomorrow. Vincent stood in silence, watching from a distance, knowing that some people are not meant to be owned, only respected. And behind them, the unfinished building caught the morning light. Not broken, just becoming.